This won't be fun. It should actually bother you. Because the whole basis of how you were taught to live, fairness, kindness, and compromise, may not only be wrong but may have been designed to keep you weak. The world has never been fair, even though it seems nice on the outside. It looks like a civilized place, but it's really a battlefield. And while most people frantically hold on to the idea of morality, the ones who ascend, the ones who dominate, and the ones who change history to suit their needs are the ones who gave up on fairness a long time ago. Consider this. Lions do not divide their prey equally with jackals. The sun doesn't shine with fairness. It burns deserts and feeds forests without thinking. The world you live in, which is nature, doesn't know what fairness is. It rewards being strong, smart, and able to change. People still hold on to the weak notion that justice rules the world, even though they have laws, religions, and ideologies. Why? Because fairness makes you feel better. It makes you feel comfortable, like unseen forces are making sure everything stays in harmony. But tell me, where was fairness when empires grew by war, when dynasties built their thrones on blood, and when fortunes were made not by honesty but by ruthless cunning? Where is fairness when the liar gets to be in charge and the honest man dies with clean hands but empty pockets? Niccolò Machiavelli, hundreds of years ago, took away this false idea. He said what few people were brave enough to say, that authority is not based on fairness, but on force, lies, and lack of compassion. He told princes that they should not be adored, but feared. He encouraged leaders to be okay with lying, to breach their promises when it suits them, and to understand that morality is only a mask they wear for show. And yet, what he said is still terrifyingly accurate. Take a look around you. What really controls your world? What is justice, or the cold, unyielding grip of power? The world values fairness, but it also values brutality. This is the paradox you must face. In principle, society praises compassion, but in fact, it rewards being smart. People tell you to obey the rules, but the people who write the rules never do. You are told to be fair, but fairness is really a way to keep you obedient, predictable, and safe, so that others can take advantage of you. And this is where the pain gets worst, because it feels immoral to even think about fairness. It makes you feel bad, like you're breaking a fundamental promise to other people. But think about it. How many times has being fair saved you? How many times has it provided you what you needed? Did being fair stop betrayal? Did being fair stop people from being mean? Did fairness keep you from being overlooked, disregarded, or thrown away? The truth is scary. Fairness is a tale, not the truth. It is a story that has been passed down to keep the masses quiet while the cruel few hold on to power. It is the bedtime fable of civilization, told to both kids and adults, while the powerful chuckle behind closed doors. And if you hold on to it too firmly, you're playing a game that was made for you to lose. But the question that really matters is, if fairness is a lie, what should you live by? What other option do you have if being kind and compromising simply makes you weak? Are you okay with being ruthless? Do you throw away the morals you were taught as a child? Can you possibly stand the idea of becoming the same thing you were taught to hate, sneaky, manipulative, and dangerous? But think about this. The people you admire, even the ones who seem virtuous, have always had a cruel side. Great leaders, philosophers, and innovators didn't thrive by playing fair. They changed reality to suit their needs. They smiled when they had to, lied when it was helpful, and hit when they had the chance. They learned how to look fair while being cruel behind the scenes. So the question you should be asking yourself tonight is not if fairness is real, but if you have the guts to let it die inside you. Can you deal with the world as it is, not how you want it to be? Can you handle the darker facts of power without losing yourself? Can you accept that morality might not be a guide, but a weapon, and the person who uses it best wins? This isn't about being mean just to be mean. It means realizing that life isn't fair, and that people who believe in the myth will always be slaves to those who don't. If you're sick of playing a game that isn't fair to you, and are ready to face the disturbing truth that Machiavelli dared to tell, you need to go into the shadows. You need to discover what other people are too afraid to say. The world doesn't reward people who play by the rules. It gives prizes to people who play to win. And the greater question still lingers, nagging at the borders of your mind. What happens to a soul that abandons fairness? What happens when you stop striving to be good and start trying to be strong? That's where we need to go next. When you look further into society, you'll see that the need for fairness isn't based on truth. It's based on fear. The weak are the ones who cry for justice, not the strong. Fairness acts as a psychological defense for individuals unable to confront the harsh realities of existence. People who want equality and say that kindness and mercy are the most important characteristics are not speaking from a position of strength. They are begging for protection from things they can't control. Carl Jung famously observed that civilization is just a thin layer over chaos that has been around from the beginning of time. The will to power is what lies beneath the courteous handshakes, smiles, and legal frameworks. Nietzsche, in his unending attack on morality, went even farther. He said that morality was made up by the weak to shame the powerful into doing what they wanted. In Nietzsche's view, what we now call fairness is just slave morality, which is a set of rules made up by the weak to keep the ruthless in check and make them obey. A wolf doesn't expect another wolf to be fair. He battles, he takes chances, he takes. But people build moral frameworks to make themselves feel better because they are afraid of losing things and being weak. They make laws, religions, and social standards not because they are good people, but because they have to, in order to keep the chaos they can't stand under control. But Machiavelli, unlike the moral philosophers, didn't want to be a part of this lie. He stared straight into the heart of power and declared, "The strong don't need fairness, they need strategy." So, the real problem is not just that society lies about fairness, it's that you have believed this deception. You learned as a child to share your toys, wait your turn, and avoid fights. You were assured that being nice, patient, and fair will pay you in the end. But who gets the reward? What hand gave out the reward? The way you were raised was meant to keep you in check, not give you authority. This causes a division in the mind. Jung would say it's a shadow, a part of you that you can't admit to having. You put on a friendly face and pretend to be fair, but deep down you want to get back at people who hurt you, steal what you want, and make others do what you want. But you hold back this instinct. You put it in the ground. You tell yourself that it is wrong, hazardous, and embarrassing. But like all things that are kept hidden, it gets stronger in the dark. You feel torn because one part of you knows that fairness is a fiction, but the other half of you desperately holds on to it. You are stuck between your natural desire for power and the moral indoctrination you have learned. And this is when the manipulation starts. People who know your conditioning, people who know you won't cross certain moral lines, can use it against you. They can make you do what they want by making you feel guilty, making you feel ashamed, and using the ideals you were taught to hold dear against you. No one understood this better than Machiavelli. He realized that a fair player is easy to read and an easy-to-read player is weak. But the cruel are free. They have an edge over everyone else who is still holding on to morality because they have let it go. And this is why so few people have power. Just a few are willing to deal with the psychological stress of being ruthless. But here's the philosophical twist. If fairness is a deception made up by the weak, and ruthlessness is the truth of the powerful, what does it say about you? Are you ready to think of yourself as a wolf amid sheep? Or will you continually be herded, used, and thrown away, always asking for fairness but never getting it? Nietzsche cautioned against this peril. He claimed that the man who can't accept his darker side will always be angry. He will envy the strong, hate the smart, and secretly hate how weak he is. But he will hold on to morality since it is all he has. Jung also said that trying to hide the darkness, which is the darker, more ruthless part of yourself, will only make it come out in harmful, unconscious ways. You will either blow up in anger when pushed too far or quietly hurt yourself, always split between who you are and who you want to be. So, this is the foundation of the problem. Your whole identity is based on a lie. You want things to be fair, but you like people who are cruel. You hate being manipulated, but you let it happen every day. You hold on to your morals, yet deep down you wish you could throw them away when they don't help you. The fight in your head isn't happening outside of you, and you will stay helpless until you face it, take away the illusion, and deal with the hard truth. The fact is clear, but hard to accept. Fairness was never meant to keep you safe. It was made to keep you in check. The real question today is, what happens if you ignore this concealed problem that affects every part of your life? What happens if you keep believing in fairness while others use ruthlessness against you? The effects are already here, and you don't know how dark they are. You might not know it, but you are already paying the price for being fair. Every time you choose patience over power, every time you ignore your instincts to avoid being unfair, and every time you allow someone take more than they deserve because you don't want to fight, you are creating your own tomb in life. It's not only a theory that playing fair has repercussions. They affect your profession, your relationships, your reputation, and even how you see yourself when you look in the mirror. Think about your job. How many times have you seen someone who wasn't as good at something do better than someone who tried harder? How many times have you seen promotions go to the smartest person instead of the most clever one, the one who knew how to flatter, how to play politics, and how to hurt others without feeling bad? Fairness didn't help them. It was ruthlessness. But you were told to keep working hard, stay humble, and the results will come. But the meek do not get results. They come to those who don't give up. Think about your own life. Fairness instructs you to forgive, to offer without expecting anything in return, and to make deals. But what happens? The individual who takes advantage of your kindness just gets stronger, bolder, and more entitled. They start to think that your impartiality is a sign of weakness, not strength. And as soon as weakness is found, it is used. People respect limits, not kindness. They are afraid of what will happen, not what is fair. The hidden effect is that your morals become a prison. It makes you easy to guess and control. People who know how the mind works can use this against you. This is why guilt is such a strong weapon. It can dominate individuals like you who care about fairness. You don't want people to think you're unjust, so you bend, break, and obey. People who don't share this dread, on the other hand, use guilt like a leash to pull you anywhere they want. Cognitive science shows us something else. The human brain is full of biases that make it easy to believe in fairness. The just world bias is the idea that people get what they deserve. This bias makes you feel better by convincing you that life will reward you if you act fair. But reality proves it wrong every day. Injustice is alive and well. The cruel do well. Liars get more followers. But the prejudice is so powerful that you still believe it, as if reality will finally change to fit what you want. No, it won't. There is also status quo bias, which is the desire to adhere with norms you know, even if they hurt you. You keep following fairness even when it doesn't work for you over and over again because it seems right. And then there's moral licensing, which is the false belief that doing good things gives you the right to be rewarded later. You tell yourself, I was fair, so I deserve fairness in return. But fairness doesn't work on balance sheets. Your benevolence doesn't add up to credit in some hidden bank. It only makes your position weaker right now. And the worst thing that might happen? Playing fair hurts your spirit. When you hold back your will, give up your edge, or choose justice over winning, you betray yourself. You make your own instincts weaker, and over time, you start to hate yourself. When you see other people taking what they want, you hate them. But even deeper, you hate yourself for not having the guts to do the same. Nietzsche said that this anger is the source of slave morality, a poison that eats away at the soul until it can no longer act with vigor. The same thing has happened in the past. Look at leaders, empires, and dynasties. None of them were based on fairness. Rome was not built on compromise, it was built on conquering. Companies didn't take over industries by being fair. They accomplished it by beating their competitors. Even in religion, people who got followers did it by using intimidation, strength, and full belief, not by being fair. People who played fair are now footnotes in history. People who were ruthless wrote history. And so you live in a deadly contradiction. You say you care about fairness on the outside. You know that it hurts you on the inside. But if you ignore this truth, you give in to it again and over again. And the more you give in, the less of yourself you have left. You become a shell, obedient, moral, and not dangerous. But people don't respect harmless. Discarded is harmless. The danger is that if you keep playing fair, you aren't just being moral, you're giving up your authority to others. You are giving the ruthless your own strength. And the more you stay blind to this, the more the chains dig into your soul. This brings us to the end. If fairness holds you down, how can you break free? How do you break free from the illusion without becoming nasty and turning like the person you used to hate? The answer is not easy, but it is the only way to get power. And now you have to deal with it. The revolt starts. You have seen the trick. You have felt how heavy it is in your life. Fairness has let you down, morality has been used against you, and you are easy to predict since you do what you are told. Now the question is, how do you get out? How do you get free of the cage of fairness without going crazy or losing the part of yourself that still values honor? The answer is both harsh and freeing. You have to change the battleground. You need to stop thinking that the rules were made to keep you safe and start seeing them for what they are, ways to control you. The uprising isn't about getting rid of morals. It's about learning how to use them, about using it as a mask instead of a chain. Machiavelli's most important idea was not just that leaders need to be brutal, but also that they need to seem good while being ruthless behind the scenes. He told the prince that he needed to learn how to be both a lion and a fox. A lion for strength and a fox for cleverness. It is weak to depend on only one. It is strong to have both. Learn how to wear the mask. This is the first stage of revolt. People let their defenses down when you talk about fairness and kindness in public. They think you are safe, dependable, and not dangerous. But you keep your plan close to your chest behind that mask. You know when to attack, when to lie, and when to completely ignore the rules. This duality is what freedom is all about. Morally good on the front, cruel on the inside. But before you can manage this duality, you need to face your darkness, which is what Jung warned you about. You have been hiding your ruthless instincts for too long, as like they don't exist. You believed yourself you were better than them, more cultured and better. But now, to rebel, you have to bring them into the light. You need to admit that part of you wants power, wants to win, and can be manipulated. You can only control this shadow when you combine it with anything else. If not, it controls you. So how do you act out in everyday life? Start small. Stop making excuses for your goodness. Stop acting that being fair is a badge of pride. Don't make your fairness a duty. Make it a choice. Give when it helps you. Forgive when it makes you stronger. Make a deal when it protects your job. Fairness is a tool, not a master. Second, learn how to be selectively ruthless. Being ruthless doesn't imply being cruel just for the purpose of being cruel. It means cutting without thinking twice when it's needed. Think about the doctor who cuts off a limb to save the body. It looks violent to people who aren't from there. For the patient, it is a way out. You need to learn how to cut ties, get rid of people, and give up ideas as soon as they stop helping you. The fair's disease is not being able to make up their mind. The answer is ruthlessness. There are examples of this kind of rebellion in history. Think about Julius Caesar. He knew the laws of the Roman Republic, but he also knew when to break them. He broke sacred law by crossing the Rubicon, but in doing so, he took Rome itself. Or think about modern inventors like Steve Jobs, who had a vision that dazzled many but was brutal behind the scenes, slashing projects, firing people, and manipulating competitors. These people didn't win because they were fair. They were successful because they knew when to put power ahead of fairness. But rebellion isn't just outside, it's also inside. You need to learn how to let go of the shame that justice brings. You need to change the way you think about this. When you choose to be ruthless, are you being unfair, or are you just refusing to let others take advantage of you? Are you compromising morality, or getting your strength back when you stop giving up your own needs for fairness? The truth is that most of your guilt is fake and has been drilled into you since you were a youngster to keep you in line. You may get rid of it like an old piece of clothing once you perceive it for what it is. Nietzsche wrote about the Übermensch, or overman, who makes his own ideals instead of taking those of the herd. This is the ultimate rebellion, not to give up on morality, but to make it new again. You start making your own rules when you stop following fairness blindly. Your morals become personal, strategic, and real. You can pick honor when it helps you, lies when it keeps you safe, and ruthlessness when it keeps you safe. You are free now because you are no longer constrained by other people's morals. This path is risky, of course. It needs to be balanced. Being ruthless without intelligence is to become cruel. If you give up on morals without a plan, you will become a tyrant. But to combine both, the mask of fairness and the heart of ruthlessness, is to be better than the rest of the group. It is to play the game like the people who have always run history have. If you stopped waiting for fairness and started acting strategically, what would change in your life? Which of your relationships would you end? What chances would you take? What kinds of tricks would you be able to see through? What lies would you finally give up? The rebellion starts not when you make the world unfair, but when you make it unfair in yourself. And after that, you start to see the world in a new way. You see that most people are not enemies but parts. You see that rules are not orders but suggestions. You realize that guilt is not about being good, but about being in charge. You stop living like a prey and start living like a predator. You're not irresponsible or harsh, but you are awake. This awakening is the revolution. And once it starts, there's no going back. But the dilemma is still there. If you choose this road and act ruthlessly while pretending to be fair, what does it say about the true nature of power? What is the final truth that awaits us at the end of this dark journey? The answer is in the deepest understanding of all. You've walked through the illusion, felt its bonds, and tasted the rebellion. But now comes the hardest part, the one that most people are too afraid to do. For what is left if you really give up on fairness and accept ruthlessness? What is the ultimate truth about power? And more importantly, what does it say about you? The last understanding is both freeing and scary. Power isn't about being right, fair, or winning. Power is all about how others see things. It's about making things seem like you can't be opposed. People that are unkind don't always win. They win because they know that people who control how things look can change reality. Machiavelli said that a prince should always look virtuous, even if he isn't. Why? Because perception makes people obey. People don't follow the truth, they follow what they think is true. They don't bend to fairness, they bow to strength, confidence, and the fact that things will happen. So, the real power is not in being cruel for its own sake, but in being so good at it that no one notices until it's too late. The last lesson is a paradox. You have to cease being fair, but you can never let anyone know that you have. If you openly say that you are ruthless, you are asking for trouble. To embrace it softly while showing fairness is to become untouchable. The most dangerous leaders and rulers were never the loudest wolves. They wore sheep's attire for long enough to get the flock to go where they wanted it to go. But let's go deeper. What makes this work? Because people like everything to be in order. They want to think that someone is in charge. They want to believe that fairness is real, even if it isn't. People will follow you if you can make them think you're fair while being merciless behind their backs. Even when you break the law, they will call you just. Even when you lie, they will still call you kind. Even though you break every norm to stay in power, they will call you moral. And here is the last piece of information. The world is not split between the fair and the cruel. There are people who control illusions and people who live in them. You will always be dominated if you believe in the appearance of justice. You can soar above the illusion if you control it. You write the story of your life. But what does this mean for you? It means that the fight you feel inside, guilt, doubt, and the battle between being fair and being ruthless, is not a sign of weakness. It is the stuff that changes things. The instant you incorporate it, transitioning from perceiving fairness as fact to viewing it as a tool, you attain liberation. You can now make your own moral choices instead of following one that was made to dominate you. You are no longer prey. You cease being the good child that society wants you to be. You become something that is not too common, an individual. Nietzsche's Übermensch was not solely concerned with overcoming weakness. It was fundamentally about creation. Living beyond fairness does not entail becoming harsh. You will be the one who builds your own code. You can choose when to be nice, when to be kind, and when to be giving. But now it comes from power, not from being forced. You don't have to be fair. You can choose when to be fair and when not to be fair. And that, strangely enough, is the most free thing to do. There is a price to pay for freedom, of course. To live this way is to be alone. The herd will never get you. They will hold on to fairness until the day they die, thinking it will save them, even though it never has. To travel the Machiavellian path means to be alone and to know that most others will think you are cold, harsh, or even wicked. But think about it. Would you rather have power and be branded evil, or be called good and have no power? What kind of life do you want? There is one last scary reality here that you should remember long after you finish reading this. Power has no master. You will never again believe in fairness once you taste it and use it. You will see it everywhere, in politics, in relationships, and in culture. And the sight will give you strength and make you feel heavy. Because seeing the reality means losing your innocence. But maybe you have to give up your innocence if you want to get ahead. Being innocent won't keep you safe. Being innocent doesn't make people respect you. Being innocent doesn't change the world. Power does, and power doesn't go to the fair. It goes to the ruthless, who can wear fairness like a crown while clutching a knife behind their back. So, the last question is back to you. Are you ready to go beyond the illusion? Are you ready to cease being fair, not only in words, but in action? Will you wear the mask of virtue while holding the steel of ruthlessness? If so, you could lose your innocence, but you'll gain something bigger, the power to create your life, earn respect, and change the world instead of being changed by it. So, the ultimate truth isn't only about being unfair or being merciless, it's about mastering both. To get ahead, you need to look moral while using your power. You need to look innocuous while still being able to hit someone to stay alive. You must give the world what it wants while secretly living by what it fears in order to win. This is Machiavelli's most important lesson. Not that men are cruel or that life is unjust, but that the only real power is in the hands of those who accept this and use it. You know now. What are you going to do with it?